Hi, my dear friend. How are you? Welcome to the brand new episode of Inspiring Brands. I'm Praviin Bhandary, the business branding specialist, and in this particular episode, I'll be talking how a simple font or say typography can influence your customer while making decisions about your business or buying your product or service. Yes, that's true. So, as you know, business branding is a huge subject. There are different elements to it. And I always say just having a logo and website doesn't make you a brand. There are a lot of things which play its role. So in these episodes, every episode that I record, I try and give you a smallest possible details about business or developing your own business brand. And in this particular episode, we will talk about fonts and typography that we will use almost every brand use for their communication, right? To start with, to understand how this works, how it could influence, we need to understand the psychology of fonts, right? How fonts actually influence our brain or influence our subconscious mind. And I really want you to know this, that fonts, colors and shapes are kind of subconscious language of your mind. When I say your mind, it's also subconscious language, your customer's mind. If you're able to tap into this, you can develop a brand that people could not resist. People really want to come to you. People really want to connect with you. Just because you're using certain science to influence them in the form of fonts, colors and the shapes. So this particular episode is all about fonts, right? So let's get into it. If you could see my screen, it says font psychology and it affects feelings, emotions and associations with things, right? So the second slide, what are we going to, what you can expect from this particular episode? These are the 10 things. First of all, we'll understand, every time I'm using the word font and typography, you may be wondering what is it. So I'll help you to understand what is the difference, the basic difference. Then we'll move on to how customers perceive the fonts or the shape of the font. Brainstorming, types of typography, weight, spacing, size, brand personality traits, font analysis, free online fonts, few examples, and at the end I'll also tell you how we could connect with each other. Yeah. So basically, let me tell you this. If you want to understand how you can use the fonts effectively in your marketing and sales communication, you need to understand how fonts could influence your mind, right? Once you understand that, then you can make sure how to use the fonts, which fonts to be used. And I'll also help you with that, which fonts to be used. I'll answer that as well in this particular episode. And at the end, I'll also give you a link from where you can actually download a lot of free fonts and you can install into your computer and use them. You don't need to pay for any fonts anymore, right? So that's what you're going to get in this particular episode. By the way, thanks to these sites, Nick Colenda, Digital Synopsis, Fabric Brands. Out of many areas where I have done my research, these are the three places which influence a lot for this particular episode. Okay, so I'm just giving them thanks and my credits to them. So the credits to them. So let's begin with the difference between fonts and typography. So let's understand typeface first, or a typography or typeface first. See, we all use this Times New Roman, Arial, Verdana, these kind of fonts, right? The name itself is the name of the typeface. The name itself is the name of the typeface. Arial has got different Arial bold, Arial regular, Arial italic, Arial condensed, Arial bold or black. All these different Arial variations are called fonts. As simple as that. So the main name is called typeface. And the part of the family, the different types like bold, italic, as I mentioned, they are called fonts. For ease of conversation, in this particular video, I'll be using the word fonts all the time. So don't need to get confused. So here is the difference, a very clear difference. So you know what I mean when I say fonts now, right? So let's move forward. Look at this screen. This is quite interesting one. I have written graphic in 3 different fonts. font A, font B and font C. Now when I look at the font A, the way I see it, it's more of feminine, it's more of emotional when I say romantic font, it's more of elegant font, it's more of a connected, it's more of a relationships. This is what I feel when I'm looking at the A. Now I want you to look at B and C and let me know what you really think about these fonts in the comment box. What do you really think with B and C? Take your time, take your time. See, the font B is there, font C. Font B is basically handwritten font, font C is display font. I'll talk about these types in the episode. Okay, wonderful. You must have made up your mind on what you feel when you look at these fonts, right? Okay, the way I see it, graphic, the B, for me it looks like more of a childish, and wherever I need to write handwritten kind of stuff, I may use that. And graphic, the third one looks more of a editorial, more of a title kind of thing where I could use to make a bolder statements, right? So that's how. Now just looking at the fonts, we can talk so much. That means for sure these fonts could influence people when they are making the decisions. The way I see it, even before people read what is written in the content, they should get it. They should get what kind of emotion it should influence in them. It should put them into a right context. That's when I would say you have used the right font for your communication. Yeah, so that's what it's all about. So I hope, and as of now, we have set the context, what we are going to learn and how important it is to build a relationship or build connections with our customers, right? So once you understand the psychology of fonts, believe me, you'll be able to influence people even before they read the content. We understand that content is very important, but what if even if before they read the content, they come to that surrounding where they could easily consume your content by already prepared to consume your content and already become your customer. That's what fonts can do for you. Now look at this, how we perceive fonts. When we look at any font, these are the three things our mind notice: weight, spacing and the size. And based on this, certain emotions are triggered in our mind, right? So let me give an example. So here a few examples here. Speed and movement could be given by showing an italic font. Short and bulky, look at that one, the bold. It's very bulky font. It looks very strong. If you make a strong statement, that's what it's used. Now look at the third one, tall, light, extended. It looks more elegant. It looks more feminine somewhere, and there is a space. There is a breathing over there. It's more of a giving you a light feel, so it's more about a feminine look. So last one is close and connected. Now here it's more about writing scripted fonts. This is more of a scripted fonts where you show connection, where you want to talk something personally, where you want to tell something which is more close to the heart. Then you will be using these kind of fonts. Now you know which font to use, right? So whenever you are having communication. By the way, let me tell you, before I show you a more precise or more exact example where you can understand what I'm really talking, let me tell you, if you are selecting font for your business, make sure you won't choose more than 2 to 3 fonts. Keep them consistent throughout the conversation. No more than 2 to 3 fonts. 2 is good, 3 is enough. Not more than that for sure. But inside that font, it should be having multiple options. Like if you're choosing Arial, then you have that bold, regular, thin, italic and everything. Don't choose the font don't choose the typeface which does not have any fonts. Back to the scene, right? So that's how it is. Let me give you a very specific example here. Now seeing a tall and thin font activates these nodes. Which nodes? Thin, tall and beautiful. Which then activates the beauty node, activates the node for beauty. Now once the beauty node is activated in our mind, you could relate that font with the products which are related to beauty. As simple as that. So it may be a women, some product brand or anything that is related to beauty, you could able to connect with that particular product or service. That's how you should be choosing. Like, I'll give you more examples which will give you better clarity, and I'll also give you the emotions that the fonts express. Okay, you can also process beauty related stimuli more easily. So basically, when you're looking at the font, your mind is trying to understand which side it's leaning. It's more of a masculine or a feminine. If it's masculine, in what direction it's going? It's fun or it's adventurous. How is it? It's feminine, then what is it? It's more of a romantic, it's more of a beautiful, it's more of a connecting. So all these areas open up. So how to come to a right font, how to select your own font? If you ask me this, then I would say the only way you could do this is by brainstorming. What is brainstorming? You write your brand name, and around your brand name you write a lot of emotions that you want to activate in your consumer's mind when they look at your typo. It's the one, you are the one who decides what customers should be thinking when they're looking at or reading your content. Which emotions needs to be activated. So accordingly, you write all that emotions around the brand, then see what particular font can activate that emotion. To make that life easier, I have given some more examples. Like look at this one. Avon, loose, tall, thin, pleasant, makeup, beauty, and all the collective meaning together comes as Avon font. That font which is used in that particular brand. Right? It's basically one single font communicating all these areas. Yeah. So this is about how the different emotions comes together, or different feels or different messages comes together inside the funnel, and we make a collective meaning out of it. That collective meaning is called font. That font has got that collective meaning. That's why we used to choose the right font. Let's look at what are the types of typography, or what are the types of typefaces, not the fonts, typefaces here. Serif, sans serif, bold, angular, simple, complex, slanted, straight, lowercase, uppercase, separated, connected, condensed, extended, round and short, tall, slab serif. So many are there. But you don't get scared looking at all these options. All these things could go into 4 simple boxes. I'll put them together into 4 simple boxes and explain each box in detail. Would that be okay? If that's okay, go ahead and type okay in the comment box. Right? So let's look at 4 boxes. What are the 4 boxes? One is serif, one is sans serif, one is slab serif, and the last one is scripted. These are the 4 boxes all type fonts can fit into. Okay, what is serif? Simple. Serif is a font where you could see that F written. I'll be using the same example on all the 4 all 4 types of typefaces. So if you see that F, that corner which comes out on the edges is called serif. Sans serif does not have anything like that. So serif, that element is called serif. Okay. Now look at the difference over there on the screen. Serif and sans serif, I have given the difference. So you can see how readability wise, how serif is, how sans serif is more legible than the serif. Right. Now the personality of this particular font is it's when it's more traditional, you can use sans serif. When you need a sophistication, when you need to make a huge statement, when you are in a authority position, then you can use serif. Reliability, because it looks more traditional. There is a factor of reliability that this serif font can bring in, and also it's more practical and formal approach. If you want to convey something very formal, then serif font is very handy, right? So this is about serif fonts. Let's look at the some examples over here. Now these are a few examples about serif fonts: Yale, the New York Times, Time, and Gap. Now let's look at the second type, which is sans serif. As I already mentioned, serif. Now you know what is sans serif. Without the serif is sans serif. Now look at the example again. But what the personality of this sans serif is what you need to look at. You need to check here. Modern, clean, humanist, geometric, and universal. Now whenever you want to convey any of these things, that's when you know you need to go for sans serif. Very simple, no confusion at all. Okay, as we go on in this video, slowly you will see it will be further simplified for you to understand. It will be further simplified. Now let's look at example. Okay, sorry. Here is the example. Some slides went up and down, but these are the few examples. Channel, Microsoft, Avian, Nike. These are few examples for sans serif. Now look at slab serif, the third type. What is slab serif? It's similar to serif, where you have serif at the corner, but this time the serif is slightly thicker. It looks like a slab. Fonts may have rounded edges, but still they are thicker. That's when slab serif is used. What these convey, what kind of personality this slab serif has? It's bold, contemporary, trendy, friendly, and solid. If you want to communicate anything out of these, then the personality comes. Because as an individual human being, fonts also has got personality. That's why we are studying their psyche. Right? Fonts have personality. Based on that personality, when you look at some person who is bulky, you make some judgments. Although we always say don't judge the book by its cover, but every time people making judgment about the book by looking at its cover, you just can't avoid that. So similarly, when it comes to fonts, people make judgments by looking at the fonts. People make judgments by looking at you. Then they'll get into the content. Then they'll get into the person in detail. That's the second stage. Now it's up to you what kind of content you have. Initially, if you select the right font, you have made the first impression. Now the content needs to speak for itself, right? So that's what slab serif is. Now, okay, so these are the few examples I want to share. Volvo, Honda, I love New York, Sony. These are few examples of slab serif. If you look at their serifs, they are really thick and strong. Okay, now let's look into scripted ones. So these are scripted. Now here I have given an example which is very straightforward. You can see. Now whenever you want to convey something more emotional, as I already explained, something which is more connected, you want to show some personal touch to the conversation. For example, if you see any invitation, it's mostly written in scripted fonts. Thank you notes are written in a calligraphy is more about emotions. If you see the way calligraphy is done, right, that's beautiful curves that comes and connection that happens. It's beautiful. That's where scripted fonts come. If you want to communicate anything that kind with your customer and activate that part for your customer, then scripted fonts are the way to go. Now the way the personality of this font is elegant, classic, formal, sophisticated, and stylish. Now there are two more fonts. Now, okay, sorry. Before that, example: Coca-Cola, Cadbury, Instagram, and Cadillac. So, before we move ahead, I want to tell you that there are two more fonts, two more categories of font apart from these four, which are recently developed. Recent research, which was carried on typography, they said there has to be two more categories based on the current situation or need of consumer, or because when we look at these four boxes, they very much cover all the type of fonts. But based on this analogy or this study itself, there are two different types which they are called modern and display fonts. This modern fonts, if you see, they are again from the same family. Out of four, they'll fall somewhere in that same thing. Display font will also fall into the same thing, but still as a collectively they made two more categories. The modern, because it's based on the need that you have, right? So if you want to show something more cutting edge technology, more of something very sophisticated, then this modern, it looks more of a futuristic look. It's simple, very clean kind of look. These all are modern fonts. And also the display and decorative fonts. I'll give you an example for both. See, these are modern fonts. Example: Hulu, NARS, Shutterfly, Facebook. These are display fonts, where fonts are either the fonts are like that or they are created like that. Now they are display fonts. Very clear? So far we have covered 6 different types of typefaces. Now what we have? Now we have we covered typefaces, right? Now we'll focus on the fonts. Okay, so please understand the words I'm using here. So typefaces, 6 types. Now these are the actual fonts. The difference we already spoke about. The basic font always is normal or regular. Arial normal or Arial regular is the basic font. Now in Arial regular, you may find bold, you may find thin, italic, non-italic, condensed, white, tight, separated. What this font? Bold we understand, thin we understand. Italic we know, non-italic also is something that we can understand. Now condensed, here font itself is condensed or compressed. Font is condensed or compressed. When it's wide, the font is stretched, the letter itself is stretched. But when tight and separated, if you see, in tight, fonts are very close to each other. Fonts are not pushed together or something like that. It's a space in between the letters which is reduced. That's what's called tight fonts. Now separated fonts are the space between the letters increased. Simple. Now again, this gives very much. If you look at this bold, it's a bold statement. If you look at separated, the last one, it gives you more of a relaxed feel, more of a where you have time, where you can read it with ease, right? Italic, we already spoke about that, speed, right? Tight gives you some kind of urgency, some kind of whenever you want to express an emotion which is more of a helpless, then you can use these styles. Okay, so now this you can use. These are fonts. I told you cannot use more than 2 to 3 typefaces, but you can use fonts inside that typeface. If you have more number of fonts, it's always better, so that you can express yourself in much easier or better way. Let's move on and see what we have. Now look at this. Three columns of different types of emotions that fonts can express for you. Yeah, you can pause for next few slides. Each slide you can pause and read them in detail, so and understand how that could which of these emotions you want to take out in your consumer's mind. Now look at this one. Now this here, the fonts are categorized based on 4 traits, personality traits. One is pleasing, engaging, second is engaging, third is reassuring, and 4 is prominent. Which are the fonts which could express all 4 of these? You could see in this particular table, there is none of those fonts who can express all the 4 traits at a high level. The last one, if you see, it's pleasing, it's reassuring, it's prominent, but it's not that engaging because it's difficult to read. If you see, if I write a para in that particular font, which is hamburger that you can see on screen, it's difficult to read. That's not engaging enough. People don't want to go through the font itself. So each font has its own pros and cons. So you need to understand which one should be chosen as per your requirement. So this page will give you enough and good clarity about what should you not use, when you should think of not using a particular font, right? So let's look at few more examples. Now just few slides are just giving some clarity about different styles. Okay, masculine, feminine. This is more of a tech-based font. This is fashion. Now romantic fonts, see, all scripted. Now look at the next one, the feminine board. It's basically pairing of fonts. If you're using the scripted fonts, which other type you can use to compensate the look and feel? Like serifs could be used with the scripted, slab serifs could be used with serifs, or sans serif and serif combination. All these things you can always do, but this is giving just a clarity, like little bit clarity about how you can mix and match fonts together to express what you're feeling. Sometimes you need to bring out some multiple emotions from your consumer. Then you can use the combination of fonts that you have. Look at this, how you can actually, this science is beautiful. More you get the depth, more you get into the depth of it, you enjoy more. So yeah, I just love when I talk about this stuff. It's beautiful. Now look at this one, handcrafted, beautiful fonts. The way they are communicating, it's something. Look at this, fun. Very straightforward. All the word is fun. The type of font is used bold. And the way it says font, you know, when this kind of font is used, you can expect some luxury over here, like some high-end culture where you are expecting some fun. Are you getting how this emotions, you can play with emotions using, sometimes you may need to express romance and you're using something else, some other type of font along with scripted fonts. So you want to give some different spice to that romance. Okay, so that's how you can play around with fonts. So look at this. These are a few more examples just to give kids this kids section over here. And this is how you can make use of the fonts to make the communication much better. Okay, wonderful. Choose fonts online. So this is a site called dafont.com. I'll take you to the page. Here you can pick and choose. There are so many fonts. You can pick and choose any one of those. So this is fancy. You can see the sections right here, the red box. Inside that there are different types. So let me take you to calligraphy. Okay. So calligraphy, so many fonts are there. Now if you are writing a particular word and you want to see how that word will look in that particular font, then this is very easy over here. Just say you want to say I love you. Let's look at which kind of font could convey your message in much better way. Look at this. Now if you have your brand name, you can type there and see which font suits the best. Now if you want to write in some decorative font, so look at this. And the beauty is, on the right hand corner you could see the button download. Click on that and there you are. You can just download that font, right? So that's how you can download fonts from this site. And there is one more which site is called Font Squirrel. Then I'll give you the link in the description for this site as well as few other sites which could help you with downloading free fonts and using them without any problem. That I'll give you. And that's about fonts and typefaces. Now how could we connect? I really want to connect with you, because this is something which I always share with people. Like whatever I have, I really want to understand what you have to share. Or is there something that you have a question for me that you want me to develop a particular episode on that particular question? I'll be doing that. I'll be happy to do that. Yeah, so please let me know if you want to want me to develop any particular episode on a particular question that you have about brand building. I'll be happy to do that. So either you can get to Facebook. So you can get to Facebook. There is a group called Inspiring Brands, and you can connect me over there, where a lot of it's a particular mindset. Everybody doesn't build their own brand. If you're somebody who thinks building a brand is important for you, then that's the place to go, where a lot of people are there with similar mindset. So you can see how they are communicating with each other. You can make friends out of them. Now also the second link, if you could see, this is the page where you can actually register for my mastermind, which I do, weekly mastermind that I do. So you can come there and learn about business branding, and I'll be giving some tips about how easily you can develop customer loyalty, and what are the ways that brands take, that huge brands so-called, they take to influence their employees, influence their customers, just by inspiring, not manipulating, just by inspiring them to come along in the journey of growth. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm sure you would love that. So welcome, and that's about for this particular episode. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in my next one. Thank you so much.